Getting a habit to stick is hard. Try waking up early and eating healthy when you're burnt out and in a rush. Most people don't know how to keep a new habit up past January 17th, the official ditch New Year's resolution day. What we really need to look at are the not so obvious things that cause us to give up on our goals and how to avoid them. The new me fallacy. You know those studies that says it takes somewhere between 21 to 90 days to make a new habit second nature? I call those the new me fallacy because it gives us this idea that at day 91, we're somehow a different person than day 90. A flip suddenly switches and we've now ascended into some type of habit mastery where we don't need to try anymore. The truth is that any habit you're trying to build or break is an action. Exercising, writing, meditating, quitting, sleeping better. And the truth is that once you stop doing a habit, then it's no longer a habit, just a thing that you used to do. And the way to beat this is to change our approach from a finish line approach, where things are effortless, frictionless, and magically broccoli becomes our favorite food, to a maintenance approach, where we expect to sustain this habit even when times get tumultuous and difficult. Bad foundation habits during the initial hump, poor sleep, excessive drug and alcohol use, and an unregulated diet are all major levers in our brain chemistry that can stop a new habit before you start. The health repercussions are obvious, but there's one thing that's not so frequently talked about that really impacts our ability to make short-term progress, and it especially affects people in their 20s and 30s. Persistent brain fog. Brain fog is scientifically described as a state where we have reduced concentration, forgetfulness, a lack of focus, and a lack of clarity. Think of the last time you had a hangover, lack of sleep, or were rebounding from some type of drug use, walked into a room, and forgot why you went there to begin with. It's most obvious during the hangover itself, but the effects lingers for up to 2 weeks after each alcohol-fueled episode, in addition to whatever poor eating and sleeping habits that we're having. And this is obviously a recipe for self-sabotage, but it's how me and most of the people I knew in my 20s lived our lives, waiting for weekend drinks. This makes it surprisingly difficult to will ourselves into getting things done in the early stages of building habits, especially ones that require us to use effort and make sacrifices at the same time, like sacrificing time, maybe entertainment, and food you enjoy to start cooking healthy meals. Now, don't get me wrong, nothing's wrong with having an occasional drink, but if you're just getting started with a new habit, you want to give yourself the best possible shot at following through the perfect me. Imagine with me for a second that you have two best friends, and they're excited to tell you their plans to transform their health this year. Friend A plans to exercise every day for 1 hour, then do 40 minutes of cardio, cut out all carbs, spend 20 minutes in a hot bath, and have a 1 hour stretching cool down. Friend B plans to do 10 push-ups and 10 squats a day and stop eating bread. If I were to ask you to bet $10,000 on which of these two people you think were going to be able to get this done every day for the year, who would you place your money on? Most of us would probably choose friend B. It's a bit of a no-brainer, because we know that life happens and friend A's schedule seems too challenging to maintain on a bad day. And while friend A's example was a bit extreme, it is what most of us actually do when we plan our lofty goals to change our lives, like waking up 4 a.m. every day, or meditating for 1 hour each day, or getting rid of all sugar. We plan this around the perfect version of ourselves that maybe exists once or twice a week. Bad days are inevitable, sometimes consecutive and often unplanned. And our brain is always running a cost-benefit analysis of worth it or not. The reward we receive for following through on our commitment and the ability to follow through that comes from that is the same, whether we're doing 1 hour of cardio or just 10 push-ups. And there's no rule that says you can't do more. Having targeted goals rather than lifestyle shift. Most people think of building a habit like hitting a target, rather than changing their life. And this is a flawed approach, mainly because we're building the habit to change our lives. In Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about optimum habit change being an identity shift, going from I'll lose 60 pounds to I'm the type of person that moves every day. A shift in focus from how I want to look to who I want to be automatically removes a lot of the mindless bad behaviors and overthinking we'd otherwise do. We subconsciously create these mental rules that shortcut a lot of the decision making that can cause us to quit habits. Most of us already have some of these mental shortcuts for being a safe person, like not taking candy from strangers or opening the door for people you don't know at night. These help us navigate life in the least effortful and least problematic way. When we apply these rules to our habits, the behaviors we want become second nature. Imagine you want to save $50 per week. You can approach this from two perspectives. Either the goal-oriented perspective, which will lead to lots of FOMO and missing out on nights or not buying the thing that you want to buy because you're trying to find a way to save this $50. Or you can approach it from the identity shift perspective, where you become the type of person that saves before you spends. So after that $50 is in the bank, everything now becomes an opportunity for you to freely spend the money that you do have. A new habit should enhance your life, not restrict it. Not tracking. Anything that isn't paid attention to automatically turns into chaos. Your body, your vehicle, your dishes. I'm convinced that this is a natural law of the universe. But the great thing is that stopping the descent into chaos is very simple. It's just paying attention. 5 years ago, I tried building a morning workout habit. I woke up at 5 a.m. every day and worked out, but I'd get about 2 months in and inevitably run into the same problem. I'd give up. And after failing at that and many other habits, I came across tracking as a practice. And what tracking allowed me to do was to remind me of where I was trying to go, as well as the most important thing, showing me my own patterns. Patterns like my usual quitting points or how many days I'd miss consecutively before giving up completely. And this information was obviously super useful. I could plan ahead for the days I saw I usually missed and do things to sustain momentum when I knew my day to give up completely was coming up. This turned out to be really valuable in two ways. It allowed me to see what was coming around the corner so I could prepare for the difficult days and adjust to make it easier for myself. And I also got to see that if I made it to the 3-month mark with almost any habit that I was pursuing, it was more likely to stay into my life for a longer period of time. When performance is measured, performance improves. Waiting for a fresh start. For those of you that are unfamiliar, a fresh start is the beginning of a new time period. It gives us a specific before and after date, where we can separate who we were from who we're going to be. This could be the start of a new month, a birthday, or even a new week. And it works because it gives us this motivational boost that allows us to separate our thinking between ourselves before the fresh start and us after the fresh start, which is amazing. But like anything good, it has its downsides. Waiting for a fresh start is often used as a crutch when we slip to allow ourselves to fall back into undesirable habits, rather than owning our mistakes and continuing forward. This is like taking all of the good food out of your house because you ate pizza yesterday, then only eating pizza until your next birthday. Which is silly, right? But it's something that we all do, myself included. And here's how we beat that. A blank calendar. At any point in time, I wipe it clean and I begin my new fresh start. It has the same mental effect as starting a new month. Because what we want isn't a new month, we want the motivation that comes with a new time period. I highly recommend you guys try this or make your own. The ease of opting out. Let's say you're trying to cut back on eating out, but you're tired after work and your sink is a mess. What do you do? Do you spend the 30 minutes to clean the dishes, then the additional time to prep and cook your meal? Or do you just opt out?
Yeah, hello? I'd like to order a large pepperoni pizza.
When I started journaling and misplaced the pen, if I didn't have the willpower, I'd just skip that day. If I promised to exercise but didn't have the clean laundry, I'd just chill instead. Making it easy to opt out is the fastest way to sabotage yourself because you're adding friction between yourself and your desired outcome. I have a simple rule I follow to stay on track. Less friction, more likely. Taking 5 minutes to make sure you're prepared for the next day before that decision moment comes could be the difference in a year of positive change versus slipping back into bad habits. And it'll make it easy to do the things that are best for yourself consistently. Being around reminders of familiar behaviors. I've experienced this one quite powerfully as a person that's uprooted and moved abroad multiple times. We have this strange habit of categorizing things based on their uses. 4 legs and a top. It's a table. It's something we can place items on, stand on if we need to change a bulb, or flip if we're angry. And we do this with people as well. This is Lawan. He likes to drink on Fridays, but he doesn't do yoga. So we'll call him to drink, but never to do yoga. And we create these simple frames of references for people and items until we're given information to challenge these. Getting past these to keep up our habits can be done in 3 ways. Willpower, the least effective. You can open your refrigerator, see a stick of chocolate, and opt for something healthier instead. But that type of temptation often leads to bad days more than it leads to good days. 2. Remove it from your presence. This is really effective, but not as effective as the third option. Not having the chocolate in your house at all is a guaranteed way to keep cravings at bay, but still leaves us vulnerable when we're actually in the presence of chocolate. 3. The tequila reframe. There's a really common thing that happens with people who drink tequila. At first, tequila means it's a party. Then after a bad night, tequila begins to mean harsh vomiting and hangovers. So it literally repulses the drinker. You couldn't pay these people to ever drink tequila again. I'm not speaking from deeply personal experience with this or anything. So with chocolate, it could look like reframing from a tasty treat to inevitable health problems. When reframing yourself to other people, however, is something that you need to be very firm and unwavering with. Because the same way you have categories for other people have categories for you. So, for example, when I stopped drinking a while ago, and I mentioned it to my friends, they initially would use different language than I would use when I described it. I would say that I've stopped drinking, and they would reframe that to say, Lawan's not drinking right now. Which isn't what I said, right? But it wasn't malicious or anything like that. It's just their way of exploring this new person that I've presented, this new identity, this new category. And while it did take some time, it did eventually set in. But if you keep seeing that people aren't respecting the boundaries you're setting for these new habits you're trying to make or these new categories you're trying to do, then you may need to step away. And if you got any value from this video, then please identify as a person that has destroyed the subscribe button for your boy. And if you have any useful information that you think could benefit people trying to create the best version of themselves over the course of the year, then please leave those in the comments below. As always, peace and love.